Hi, this is CB, and this time I'm going to talk about how to add wings to a photo. In this case, I'm going to use my Fairyland Wings product. If you go to digitals and type wings in the search box as your keyword, then there will be some other products that will pop up that could work for this, some other brushes, as well as just plain ping, probably based wings in a kit, but we're going to talk about brushes in particular in this case. And so let's begin. I'm going to need a new layer to stamp my brushwork on. So let's hit the new layer icon here. This is Photoshop Element 6 I'm going to be using, but I'll mention the Photoshop steps too while we're at it. So we've got the new layer. I need to load the brush I want in because I don't have my Fairyland Wings loaded right now, and I'm doing that. As you can see, I've hit load brushes in here and choose that, and now we're in the Fairyland Wings. The one I want is down here in the bottom. Oops, it always does that to me, I don't know why. So I'm going to shrink it down with the left bracket here to get the size down a bit. And now you can't see it because I've got my my workspace shrunk down to fit within the tutorial recording space here, but there's a little button right behind this edit tab. It says more options. If I just click to the left of it here, you'll see now my brush options come up, and I can just rotate the brush just a little bit just to get it tilted so that it looks like it's kind of going through the small of her back straight rather than being so perfectly straight. It's got an angle according to her is what I'm saying. So if you're using Photoshop and you go into the brushes palette, which is kind of in the same place when you have the brush open, you'll notice there's a little button that you click on it and it says brushes palette, and then it brings up a whole bunch of brush options. Look for the one that says flip the x-axis of the brush. That will rotate your brush so that horizontally, so that you're stamping a wing that goes the other direction. In this case, we're in Photoshop Elements. We don't have that, so I'm going to hit Control and J or Command and J on a Mac just to duplicate this wing layer. You'll see I have a copy of it. Now I'm going into Image, Rotate, and Flip Layer Horizontal. So now the second layer is flip the other direction, and I'm going into Transform here so I can move it down, and I'm even going to rotate it down a little bit more just to get it to where now it's tilted the other way a bit slightly, so it looks like it's straight from the smaller back here. There's a little bit of a line here, you can tell, and that helps keep it straight, I think. So the only problem now is we have two layers instead of one. If you're in Photoshop, you'll stamp these both on the same layer, but as I say, we don't have that option in Elements here, so I'm going to right click, which is I think Command click on a Mac, I'm not quite sure, but and choose Merge Down so that now they're both on the same layer. So the next step is we need a layer mask to work with to hide some of this mask so that it looks like the wings are behind her. If you're using Photoshop, there's a button at the bottom of your layers palette that says Quick Mask, Add a Quick Mask. Looks like a rectangle with a circle inside of it, and it will add a little white mask off to the side of this layer you're working on. We have to do the workaround here in Elements because we don't have a Quick Mask button. So I'm going to click on the background layer, choose one of these adjustment layers. Doesn't really matter which one. All of these have a layer mask associated with it, and we're not going to do the adjustment part of the adjustment layer, so I'll just choose levels. Doesn't really matter. Just click OK, make no changes. But now you see we have this adjustment box here and a layer mask. So let's tell the program, okay, we want this layer mask to work with this layer, and we do that by grouping. So click on the wings layer, hit Control and G or Command and G on a Mac, so that now it's grouped down with this layer. And I'll prove that because if this mask were black, you would not be able to see what's on this layer. Black would hide everything on this layer. So let me make that mask black here. I'll just invert it quickly, and you'll see now that it worked because the wings have disappeared. So it's working with this layer. Let me invert that back. The next step will be just to tell it which part of these wings we don't want to see. So I'm going to choose my paintbrush again, and I'm going to go back to that default brush that I had loaded earlier. Choose one that looks kind of blurry on the edges. You scroll down a bit and you'll get to the blurry ones. I'm going to make it a little bit, my brush bigger. I'm using the right bracket key here. Just check to make sure that your layer mask is clicked so that you're painting on it and not on your photo. You see there are these little marks on the outside of the layer mask, which proves that it's what's actually highlighted. So now I'm just clicking and painting over on my photo area, but it's putting the black over here on the layer mask, and I would do that to just get rid of any parts of the wing that I want to be behind her rather than in front of her like that. Now I'm not going to be specific here because I'm pressed for time, so I'm going to turn this one off and show you just like a cooking show here. I'll put the one that I have earlier made up, and you can see now not only did I make it look like the wings are behind her because it's hiding parts of the wing that would be behind her, but also I went into my effects palette here and chose from the outer glow, I think I chose this one, the simple one here, and just played with the settings a bit. That's why it sort of looks like it has a little bit of glow to it here. If I go, double click in here and go into the style settings, if you watch the size, well, if I have the opacity up higher, you can see it much better, but you can see how, look how it's kind of got this glow coming out from the edge there. I'll just cancel it to get back to where I was. The final thing I did to finish off my Fairyland scene here was I took the Fairyland brushes and instead of painting, large areas of it, I just went and sort of tapped all over to get individual little sparkles, and just went through to give it that nice little extra not edge, but extra treatment to it to have that sparkly background. I'm CB. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thanks for watching.